Emily Parker, a shy 16-year-old girl with pale skin, soft brown hair always pulled into a loose ponytail, and hazel eyes that often stayed fixed on the floor, had spent most of her time at Lincoln High trying to be invisible. She wasn't rude, she wasn't unfriendly, she was just quiet. New to the school after her mom's job transfer, she didn't know anyone well enough to trust them, and she had quickly learned that keeping her head down was the safest choice. Or so she thought. For some people, being quiet wasn't a shield, it was a target. And for Kayla, the self-appointed queen of the sophomore class, Emily was the perfect prey. Kayla was the kind of girl who knew how to smile sweetly in front of teachers but sharpen her words like knives the moment their backs were turned. She had two loyal shadows who laughed at every cruel joke, and from the day Emily walked in, they had been whispering, tripping her in the hallway, and mocking her timidness. Emily never told anyone, partly because she didn't think they'd care, and partly because she didn't want to make it worse. But this day was different. It happened just after the lunch bell rang. The hallway was crowded with the usual chaos, lockers slamming, voices echoing, sneakers squeaking on the linoleum floor. Emily kept her books tight to her chest and her gaze locked on the ground as she tried to slip past the crowd toward her next class. Then, like a shadow blocking the light, Kayla stepped into her path. The sound of giggles behind her told Emily she was surrounded. Kayla tilted her head, smiling in a way that didn't reach her eyes. "Where you off to, mouse? Got somewhere better to be?" Emily's throat tightened, and she muttered something about needing to get to class early, but her voice was so faint it was swallowed by the noise around them. Kayla smirked wider. "Let's have a little chat." Before Emily could react, Kayla's hand shot out, gripping her wrist, and the other two girls grabbed her backpack straps. The hallway spun in Emily's vision as they dragged her toward the far wing of the school. She tried to pull free, her voice catching in her throat, but her small protests were lost in the flood of student chatter. They were heading toward the old bathroom at the far end of the building, a place Emily had never dared to go. Everyone knew it was hardly used, the tiles cracked, the lights flickering, the mirrors cloudy with age. It was also far enough from the main hallway that you could scream and no one would hear. When the heavy bathroom door slammed shut behind them, the sound echoed in Emily's chest like a warning bell. The light above buzzed and flickered, casting uneasy shadows over the cracked walls. Kayla stepped closer, her voice low and venomous. "You think you're too good for us? Too good to talk to people?" Emily's back pressed against the cold tile, her books slipping from her arms and scattering across the grimy floor. She shook her head, eyes stinging with tears, but the words wouldn't come. The other girls stood near the door like bodyguards, their arms crossed, blocking her only way out. And then, crackle. It was faint at first, like the sound of static whispering through the air. Emily's gaze darted toward the door, her breath catching. The sound grew clearer. "Unit 3, report to East Hallway, 2nd floor." The voice was calm but urgent, coming from just outside the bathroom. Her mind raced. It was the walkie-talkie clipped to the belt of the school security guard. The footsteps that followed were steady, heavy, and getting closer. Kayla's expression faltered, her bravado slipping for the first time. The girls near the door exchanged quick glances. Then, with a sudden burst of motion, the door swung open, flooding the dim bathroom with the light from the hallway. Officer Daniels, tall and broad-shouldered with a serious gaze, stepped inside, followed closely by Ms. Reeves, Emily's homeroom teacher, her eyes blazing with fury. "What's going on here?" she demanded, her voice cutting through the tense air. No one spoke. The silence was deafening. The guilt was written plainly on Kayla's face, and the way her friends shifted uneasily made the truth obvious. Officer Daniels's voice was calm but firm as he ordered the bullies out. Their protests faded into the distance, drowned out by the continued chatter of the radios in the hall. Emily stayed frozen against the wall, her breath coming in shaky bursts. Ms. Reeves knelt beside her, gently gathering her scattered books and placing them back into her trembling hands. "You're okay now," she said softly. Emily's voice was small, fragile. I didn't think anyone would care." Ms. Reeves met her eyes, steady and warm. "Emily, you matter. And you're not alone here, not anymore." Those words clung to Emily in the days that followed. For the first time since she'd arrived at Lincoln High, she started to believe they might be true. She joined the school's peer support group, at first just sitting quietly and listening to others share their own stories. Slowly, she began to open up, her voice no longer caught in her throat. She realized that she wasn't the only one who had been hurt, and that some of the strongest people she met had once been just as scared as she was. Weeks later, Emily was setting up chairs for the group's after-school meeting when she noticed a younger girl lingering near the door, clutching her backpack with both hands, her eyes darting nervously around the room. Emily recognized the look. She had worn it herself not long ago. She walked over, offering the smallest but most genuine smile. "Hey," Emily said gently, "you're safe here." The girl's shoulders eased ever so slightly, and Emily felt something shift inside her, a quiet but unshakable strength. She still remembered that bathroom. She still remembered the cold tile, the sting of tears, the way her heart pounded when the door opened. But more than that, she remembered the moment she realized that help could come when you least expected it, and that one person stepping in could change everything. And from that day on, she made herself a promise: if she ever saw another door that needed to be opened for someone in need, she would be the one to push it wide.